In the final seconds of the battle against a mad titan, a billionaire inventor reroutes the energy of the reality stones. Instead of absorbing the lethal shock himself, he directs it through a backup containment gauntlet he built days earlier. I look at this survival plan and see a brilliant mind outsmarting the Reaper. It proves his intellect was always his primary weapon, allowing him to engineer a way out of an impossible cosmic ultimatum. But keeping him alive breaks the narrative structure of the entire universe. A clean, final death was the designated endpoint of his story, and sparing him dilutes the weight of that final charge. We completely disagree on whether he should have lived, but surviving the snap doesn't mean he gets a happy ending. It serves as the inciting incident for a much darker, far more complicated timeline. This medical schematic outlines the immediate physical toll of that backup plan. A shattered reactor housing is permanently fused to his sternum. Severe nerve damage runs down his entire right side, forcing him to rely on extensive mechanical prosthetics just to function. Watching someone who the public treats as a god struggle to relearn how to hold a wrench creates incredibly grounded, compelling television. He has to rebuild his own body from scratch. The problem is that we already spent 15 years watching him evolve from a selfish weapons manufacturer into a selfless hero willing to lay on the wire. That evolution was complete. By pulling that backup gauntlet trick at the last second, he secures all the glory of a cosmic sacrifice without paying the actual price. It creates a massive contradiction in his character arc. We have to ask ourselves how we measure a hero's legacy. Do we measure it by a single clean sacrifice on a battlefield, or by the messy reality of waking up every day and living with permanent trauma? In the years following the snap, the living hero reclaims his company and actively steps into a mentorship role. He funds the tech and oversees the operations for the next generation of younger heroes. He becomes a foundational pillar for a rebuilding universe. He acts as a living legend who safely guides inexperienced youth, providing resources they could never access on their own. Except his oversight quickly smothers them. His ego goes unchecked, and these younger heroes, the Spider Kid, the Sorcerer, the Soldier's successor, are trapped under his wing, unable to step out of his shadow. As he ages, his fear of future threats turns into a paranoid obsession with building preemptive contingency suits. By building automated defense networks for enemies that don't exist yet, he is repeating the exact sequence of events that caused a global artificial intelligence disaster. Without death to stop him, his survival gives his deepest psychological flaw time to metastasize. His desperate need for control becomes a weapon aimed directly at his own allies. The stakes escalate dramatically a few years later when reality begins to fracture. The multiverse starts collapsing, threatening to tear apart every active timeline simultaneously. Because he survived the initial snap, he is the only living person with first-hand experience wielding the reality stones. He possesses the practical engineering knowledge required to stabilize the collapse. The cost of doing so is horrific. To fix a reality fracture, the process forces his nervous system to physically and psychologically relive his near death from the final battle. Enduring that amount of repeated pain elevates him to an Atlas-like figure. He carries the weight of all realities on his back, cementing him as the strongest character in the lore. It is a cycle of pure torture. He is unfairly chained to universal maintenance, trapped in a reality he was supposed to leave behind over a decade ago. Cheating a cosmic death does not grant him freedom. It binds him to an endless loop of paying off a debt he deferred in that final battle. Based on his psychology, there are two diverging endpoints for his character in this timeline, and we are deadlocked on which one is inevitable. Option A is the redemption ending. As we see here, he finally relinquishes his tech and hands over his company. He steps off the grid to raise his daughter in quiet isolation. True victory for a man obsessed with building weapons is learning how to achieve peace by permanently taking off the armor. Option B is the tragic loop. This concentric circle diagram illustrates how his trauma and obsession with preventing future disasters actively pushes away and severs ties with his family and allies. His compulsion for control dictates that he will die completely alone in a lab. He technically survived the war, but he never managed to actually live. Outliving your narrative purpose removes the safety net of a heroic death. It forces you to write your own conclusion, and for a control freak, that usually ends in isolation. We cannot agree on the ultimate value of his legacy in this alternate timeline. The ideological divide is too wide. So we are passing the question to you. Is true heroism defined by the willingness to execute a clean, final sacrifice for the greater good? Or is it defined by the painful, agonizing strength required to stick around and endure the work of fixing a broken world? Let us know how you resolve this contradiction down in the comments, and tell us which ending he actually deserves.